All right. Hey, good morning, Lathan. Welcome to the training center.
Good morning. It's Friday, August 29th, about 10 a.m.
Yeah, and we're like 2 weeks out from when we were last talking to our drivers, specifically about Netradyne and the BIPA forms. And let me ask you, what type of feedback have you been having, and where are we at on all that?
You know, the feedback has been really good. And first, I want to say thank you to all the professional drivers that have either called in, sent in communication through our links, through WorkHound, all the resources, right? Thank you for reaching out. But, you know, the feedback has been, it's been very positive overall. And, you know, most of the time, Steve, it's been really just questions about the unit or questions about the BIPA forms. And that's been really good.
And Lathan, you know, one of the things when we look at the different DOTs, we've had about 52% on Covenant that have signed the BIPA forms, about 54% on land, and about 75% of our drivers on the Lou Thompson have signed it. So we've definitely seen that there's been a positive response from that as far as going ahead and signing those so that we can start facilitating the install. So we're really pleased with that. Obviously, we want to go the rest of the way with that. But you had asked me a question earlier too about, you know, have we seen anyone that hasn't been willing to sign? And we have had, when we did our first conversion of the Netradyne units, we did have one team that it was problematic for them, and so they weren't willing to sign that, and I think they went on to go somewhere else. Is that correct?
That's correct. And then outside of that one team, reality is so far we've not seen anyone else, at least that we know of at this point in juncture. And you know, again, those percentages are great, and so we want to say thank you for, you know, we're only 2 weeks in, and here we are, you know, well over 50% with both the land and, you know, the Covenant fleets. And as everyone knows, you know, this was all new. You know, having an event recorder installed was all new to those fleets, and already having, you know, better than 50% of the drivers having signed the BIPAs is huge. Obviously, that Lou Thompson at 75%, they already had a unit.
Yeah.
Now they're getting an upgraded unit. And so, you know, a lot of the frustrations that those professional drivers were talking about, this new Netradyne unit is actually resolving a lot of those issues.
Yeah, that's right, Lathan. So I want to say two things. Number one is, remember, it was really important to us we were able to give you the Covenant commitment to that, and you're going to see that as part of those documents if you haven't opened it up and reviewed them yet. But that we're always going to blur, and there's never going to be audio, and we won't change that without notifying you and going through the process again, because we're not planning on changing it. But that's the only way we can word that and tell you and make that commitment to you. So that was really something important. That's a part of that. But now let's talk about what we're seeing in the cameras, and as we start reviewing that, your safety team's learning from this process, and so we're seeing some things that you know, that are non-events that are coming through, because like anything, the system, it's machine learning, it's AI is learning different mannerisms and things. So we're getting a lot of events that may get an in-cab audio alert that we're just internally turning to a neutral event, and there will be nothing else that comes of that. And that is, you know, one of those things. The more that we do that on a particular driver, because it knows the driver based upon them logging in, it's going to learn some of that. Those are going to decrease over time. But the important thing is, it's not from outside of getting a reminder from an in-cab audio alert. There's nothing that's coming as far as further coaching to the driver.
And you made a great point, Steve, that, you know, the safety team is learning too, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, this is a brand new device, and we're working with Netradyne team, and, you know, we're all learning. We're all learning together. And so it's not just you as professional drivers getting the event recorder, you know, placed in the truck. It's our safety team. And so I want you to hear that loudly, because that's a very important point, right? That both sides are learning, and we're learning together. And we're willing to learn together. And I think that's important.
Yeah, Lathan, you know, later today, this afternoon, I'm doing some training with our safety team And one of the things that I'm emphasizing with them is, here's some things that we're gonna expect to see you doing in the cab of the truck. You know what? You're gonna be eating, you're gonna be drinking from a cup, you're gonna be, smoking and vaping. That's all okay, it needs to be expected. So those types of things, even if we get an initial alert, that's not something you're gonna get coached on. Now, I will say we've learned a few things though. So eating's a great example. If you're eating, let's keep one hand on the wheel. Here's one of the things that we've seen. We've seen sometimes that you guys eat things, you heat it up in the microwave, it's on a plate. If you're holding the plate with a hand, you got a fork and you're going down and you're trying to drive with your knees, you're gonna get a call from safety, okay? With that being said, if you keep the plate in your lap, you got a hand on the wheel, you're just looking down real quick and looking up, is that reasonable? Yeah, we're gonna say that's reasonable. Our whole thing is, if you're having to look down, minimize that, look up as soon as you can. So one of the things that that we are finding is the majority, you can see how that just within our society, cell phones become a big struggle, right? And the majority of the time with all of the drivers, you're doing a fantastic job. But there are times when, you know what, that the temptation becomes great. We're seeing them pick it up. We're seeing texting. Those are coaching opportunities for us. We also realize that we're seeing things for the first time, so we are coaching them. It's not a one and done. There's a progression. We've talked about that. If you continue to do behaviors, could the progression go where you're getting terminated? Yeah, it could. But our whole thing is we want to change behavior. This is giving us views that honestly, some of you all are going to say, yeah, you know what? I guess I did do that, because you're going to get to see the video that we're talking about. And then we can just talk through it from a standpoint of how do we make sure that, one of the things we're talking about with our team is, hey, we need to talk to drivers, make sure Misty likes to call it nesting. You've set up your cab in an appropriate way so things are where you can reach them, so you're not having to look down too much, that you're one touch on any of your devices. Our goal is to make sure that we're creating a safer environment for you. And some of that comes handily with having some accountability, and that it provides some of that. But it's not meant to be a gotcha. And I think the experience and feedback we're getting from some of the drivers that we are coaching has actually been appreciating that they can see the video, that we can have conversations about ways to improve, and ultimately to make sure that they're safe.
That's right. And Steve actually showed me a video. It was either yesterday or the day before, and it was one of our professional drivers. And in all honesty, as we reviewed the video, we deemed that the driver didn't do anything correctly, right? But however, the driver over I'll call it a minute's time, maybe looked away from the roadway, right? And it was short burst. It wasn't nothing, lengthy, but maybe look down to the cup holder, right? Reach to get something several times in sequence, okay? And so did the event recorder trigger and pick that up? It did, right? But it's one of those situations that it allowed our safety team to review that event and then mark it, like you said, as neutral.
That's right.
A non-event.
Yeah.
So again, as time goes, the machine learning with the device, it will learn that professional driver, and you'll see less triggers.
Yes, and obviously we only want it to trigger on and be as accurate as we can. But I will also tell you, Lathan, we've had some triggers that have occurred, especially with fatigue, that have caused drivers to realize they're slipping a little bit. And it's caused them to wake up and or make a decision to go in, find a safe parking place, and to get some rest. Look, if we save one driver's life, or the life of someone, of them injuring or killing someone on the road because of this, then it's worth it. We have to remember that part of this transition is to have us be at our best with how we evaluate it, and the system get to its best, and you to get at your best, so that the whole purpose of this is to improve safety for both you and to decrease the collisions that are happening.
Yes, we want you to arrive back home safely to your family. And, so again, the drowsiness alert, we talked about that on the town halls. We talked about how huge of a benefit we felt like that was going to be. and, especially on the team side. And we've already seen the event recorder's ability and what it's done in several instances. And again, we can't say that we eluded an incident from occurring, but certainly those professional drivers needed to take a break, needed to take a rest. They did not need to continue, and the device alerted them and made them realize that. And, again, so those professional drivers, they didn't have that incident, and they have the ability to ride back home safely to their family.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about.
And Lathan, I think just kind of in closing, if you haven't signed the BIPA form, please review that and sign that. We would really appreciate that. That allows us to just be able to continue on this journey. But as you're talking about getting home safely with your families, we're hitting a holiday weekend. What's our message that we want to make sure that we tell our drivers?
Yes, we know that on any holiday weekend, that traffic on the interstates, on the roadways in general, they're going to pick up, they're going to increase. And we've got people that are going to be pulling campers, boats, and things of that nature that are not accustomed to doing that. And so at the end of the day, we want you to know you're the professional driver, and we want you to be the one that is focused, right? So watch your following distances, just be safe, stay focused.
That's right. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for what you do. Stay safe out there. And then if you have questions, remember you can email safetyevents@covenantlogistics.com. The safety team will respond within 24 hours to any questions you have. You can also reach out to any of your fleet teams or account managers, to Lathan, or reach out to myself. If you're here coming through chat and you have questions, come by the dorm. If you want to see and get in the truck, we can do that. We have one of the Netradyne trucks set up here. Again, we want to make sure that you understand what it is, and also that you hear that the reason that we're doing it, we think this is a great tool to improve safety for our fleet. So thank you for what you do. Be safe out there.
Thank you.